I've been coaching people now for a couple years, going at it full time for the better part of 6 months, almost, well, but close to a year. Um, Noel and I have been working together for 1 year as of May 15th. And I thought instead of a testimonial, I really wanted her to share her experience um, over the last year because she so many things that a lot of people struggle with. Noel like, took head on. So when people switch to an animal based carnivore diet, a lot of times they struggle with energy. They don't know what insulin resistance is. They struggle with electrolytes, and they often think the weight. And in my opinion, it's healing. And when the body needs to heal, we put everything in boxes. We put everything in these is or isn't, or this is what you do, or if you want to fix this, do that. And in my opinion, and in my program, we deal with everything. It's the full body. And Noel goes on to tell you how these things that doctors, systems, institutions will say is impossible is actually very possible. And when you start the healing process, it's pretty much limitless. And if you really pay attention to what Noel's done at 68 years young, she's proven a lot of things. And if you just listen, any expert will tell you, doctors will tell you these things are impossible. Well, I'm very proud to present my friend, my client, and a 1 year carnivore, Noel Knight. And if this resonates with you, it's not just about me and my coaching, it's about sharing this with people that maybe have lost hope, that don't know where to go, have been heavily medicated their whole lives. For there is hope, and there is ways to get your body rejuvenated, energized, and ultimately give it healing. Enjoy this interview with Noel Knight. Well, today we are talking to my friend and 1 year carnivore, Noel Knight. We've been working together for exactly a year today. So thanks for coming on, Noel, and sharing your experience, because I believe for this way of eating is more than just a diet. It's more than just certain things that we kind of take for granted, and it's all about making changes through your life. So, firstly, how are you doing today?
I feel really good. So I didn't think I'd make it this far, but I actually found it was pretty easy after a while.
So,
So
okay, well, let's go right back to the beginning. Why did when you found me, or when we actually got to link up? What was your why did you choose a carnivore way?
because a friend of yours uh, told me about it, and I had some intuitive guides that told me that I needed to do it. And so intuitively, it was the thing that I needed to do. So I thought it was a bit wild. I couldn't imagine myself just eating meat every day and nothing else, meat and eggs, basically. But I did understand that there were some other side benefits to it other than just to lose weight, that there were uh, optimal health reasons that could be very useful. So I decided, what the heck, I'll go for it. And I remember I just plunged right into it. You kind of warned me that it may not be a good way to go, but I tend to do that. And you were doing this thing of meat, butter, bacon, and eggs or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
those things. And I can't have any dairy, so I was very glad to find I could get goat butter. So then that became my butter part. And so I started right in on 1 month straight of this meat, butter, bacon, eggs only for a month straight, nothing else. And it was definitely a way to get me used to the whole thing, right? And it was a big, I definitely went through challenges a little bit at the beginning because I kept falling asleep, and I had to get used to eating salt. I was not used to eating that much salt, and that was a bit of an adjustment period. I have to say it took me a while to understand about how much fat I had to eat because I kind of had difficulty doing that. But I would say it took me a few months before I was really eating enough fat. And then I found I had to watch my electrolytes and things like that. These are things you don't think of, or because when you're eating vegetables and stuff, I guess it
Sorry,
changes.
1 second. Well, I gotta close my window. There's a garbage truck up there.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll edit that out. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. So I found in the first couple of months that the resource knowledge you had was phenomenal in helping me. Because if I remember rightly, I literally was calling you every day or every other day or something, because I'd have some weird symptom that was going on, and it was like, oh my God, now what's this? So my body was detoxing, and having to adjust to none of the other stuff. And I was kind of surprised that it didn't go as easily as I thought it might, because I had done a fair amount of detoxing up until then. And I'd streamlined and been off carbohydrates before, but this was different. And I was very motivated at the time to lose weight and to feel better, more energized, stronger, whatever. And found that just through time that that all started to happen, except for the energy part. I have to say the energy part took quite a long time. And I've since figured that out. It's because my body was not just adjusting to meat only and living off fat, but trying to, what's the word? I guess, as I've come to learn, was actually healing. There were aspects of me that were healing, and I was not aware of them. And so, of course, I understand now why it would take some time. So you want me to talk about some of the benefits that happened, or?
Well, before we get into that,
Okay.
I want to talk about, because one beautiful thing about you and our relationship was that you gave it time. And there was a few times that we had those talks where, it's unsure, it's a little bit scary. And why I want to say that is because a lot of people jump into this and they give it 30 days, or they give it and they hear these glory changes or these glory things, and they do happen. But
Well, it's actually kind of discouraging when you see a lot of people online who are, they lose weight fast. They just soaring with energy. You can feel and see it when you watch them. And I was a slug, basically.
I remember a few mornings.
Slug. Oh my God. I could barely move sometimes. I remember walking my dog, and it was taking every effort just to put one foot in front of the other. And obviously getting out in the fresh air was helpful. And it was good that I had a dog to get me out walking, regardless of how I felt. But I could have just laid there all day and not moved in any respect, So, and I kept, different little things would come up. I'm trying to remember, your bowel movements change, and because you're not needing you're getting all the nourishment you need. Everything is minimalized and much easier. So it was, yeah, I would say the hardest part for me was the energy, lack of energy, and feeling like a slug. I literally felt like a slug moving around.
And so now do you see how, like, especially with new people that are trying this way, do you see how it's a slow process sometimes, and it's it takes some people a lot of time. I mean, we hear these things and we see these things about these people like resolving everything in 3 weeks, and for most people actually, especially when we've done like our whole lives, this is a complete shift. And I know at the beginning we had to talk you off a few ledges, because it's just like trusting this process over time getting better. When did you start making the turn? When did you start to, okay, there's something about this, and I'm starting to, because I think you were up and down quite a bit.
Yes, I was up and down quite a bit. When I had the odd days where I felt like really powerful and full of energy, like endless amounts of energy. And I went, oh, okay, well, let's just keep this going. I want more of this. And then I go into another dip, right? Or something. as whatever my body was doing was adjusting to whatever came next, kind of thing.
And when you did that, like, because like, what made you stick with it and not get scared away?
You filling me with tons of information. I mean, you were very encouraging, which was very helpful, and you have a vast amount of knowledge on the whole thing. And so, I mean, it's hard to believe that really in the first 6 months, I would say, there was so much information that I learned about this whole thing, that obviously that motivates you, right? When you understand things, then you give it more of a chance. And if I hadn't seen any progress, I would have jumped ship, I think, a long time ago. But I was seeing little bits, and then it would regress, right? And then I'd see little bits and it'd regress and stuff like that. But you have to realize, Tony, I mean, I'm not like most of the people I'm seeing on the podcast are way younger than me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, I'm 68, right? So that's many years to heal and undo and rejuvenate and bring back new youthful life to, and all that kind of thing. And so if I think of it in a logical way, I understand why it's taken my body a while to adjust and do the whole thing. But I mean, there's things you don't understand going on in your physiology that it takes time to rejuvenate. And because really I've come to learn and understand that I've been going through a full rejuvenation, like physically, mentally, totally, I would say even emotionally. It does affect your emotions at times, but very revamped. I mean, I would say I've been revamped.
And
I feel younger. I feel like I look a little younger.
you definitely do. Like, your radiance is increased by quite a bit. I'll have to say, you look beautiful.
Still in the works. But I remember I said to you, but when I start losing the weight or the fat or everything else, I think I just can make a wrinkled prune. It's going to be disgusting. And you said, oh, don't worry. That's going to just slowly melt into your body and it won't be there anymore. And I have to say that it actually has been happening.
Yeah.
Like, I noticed, as the fat's been coming off, particularly in my middle area, that something's happening that's firming everything up, the skin or something. I don't know. It's like wild, you
Well,
know?
that's what happens when you're properly nourished, right? Like, and quite often people lose too much weight too fast. It's not about that. Like, a lot of people come into this with about weight loss. Now,
Yeah,
I'd like to talk about that a little bit because, kind of what I guess got you like interested was the weight loss, but
right.
what other things have you noticed like over and that yeah, we'll get into the process, how long it takes. But what have you noticed over this year that other than weight loss, what's happened?
So I've had big improvements in my gums. I understand really there's two type of people, the people that get the gum issues, or the people that get the cavities. And I'm the gum issue person. Because when you're older, what happens is you start to get deeper pockets and things like that. And some of your teeth can start to loosen up. And so I had two loose teeth. And in this year, they've actually been firming up so that they're not as wiggly anymore. And they're still a little wiggly, but they're way firmer. And the pockets have really started to grow back. And my periodontist just like couldn't believe my first checkup after I came back. Like, what have you been doing? And I told her, and she said, "Oh, well, that would only affect you if you were having cavities and stuff." And I said, "Well, obviously not." So the gums have helped a lot. And then the other thing I had was glaucoma, and I was having to take these drops every day. And every time I go see the ophthalmologist and tell them that I, slowed up a bit, they just have a hairy-carry and freak out and say, "If you keep doing that, you're going to go blind." Blah 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 blah. So this last checkup, which was only a week or so ago, I actually argued with the doctor because
Yeah.
he flatly said, "There's nothing that cures glaucoma. Nothing. When you've got it, you've got it." And he actually said, "Just like diabetes." And I went, "Oh my God."
Did you have me in the back of your mind
Yeah,
going,
in the back of my mind. Yeah, right. It doesn't healed, right? Yeah. So, uh, so I didn't get into an argument over that with him because I could see he was just bullheaded and very flat on that. But I told him that prior to coming in for the treatment, I'd stopped taking the drugs quite a ways
Mhm.
back.
Yeah.
I truthfully kind of told a little bit of a white lie on the paper because it
Mhm.
said how far back, and I thought, well, if I just say a month, they won't get so excited and mad. But truthfully, I hadn't been having it for about 6 months.
Yeah.
So, and I passed all their tests, and then I could tell he was almost looking to find a reason to make me get back on the drugs. He literally was looking for that. He says, "Well, you need to be at this number, and you are at that number. As long as you don't go any higher, it's going to be fine. But if you don't take the drugs, it's going to go up, and then you're going to be in trouble again." Right. So it was just his whole MO was very, I would say, like being inside the box instead of looking outside the box for possibilities of things improving and getting better. So it's
And and now,
interesting.
Noel, we went through your blood work, and there was a couple concerns about cholesterol, and just things that
Yeah.
most people don't realize. Now, I'm going
Right.
to ask you this question: do you feel more confident knowing that you've healed your gums, healed your eyes? Do you think it's any different with your heart or your arteries or your, like, you know what I'm?
Yeah, no. And I remember I was very cautious and concerned. I have a young GP, general practitioner doctor. He's really nice, very open-minded actually. And I told him that that just because my cholesterol was high was nothing to get alarmed at, blah 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 blah. And he wanted to put me on statins.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, we're going to give this a while. I think I'm fine. I don't need them. And this is why." And I told him that, all my other lab results were 100, were ace in the hole. They were all really good, including, how there's different types of cholesterols.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Your
had,
HDL was great. Your triglycerides were low. That's metabolic health, right? So,
right, Right. So I had all the other things checked off. And so that's what I pointed out to him. I said, well, everything else is perfect. Just because I have really high cholesterol and everything else is perfect, maybe it would be good for you to be open-minded to thinking that.
And remember what I told you?
Older, right? So I can say things like that to him. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to send you some articles from doctors, and you gave me a bunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will you read them? Will you listen to them?
Sorry for the interruption, guys, but we had to edit a little bit out because, this isn't medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. And Noel had a conversation with her doctor that she didn't want to offend anybody. And it's not about that. It's just about really realizing that they are put into a place where sometimes it's out of their control with the College of Physicians and the standard of care. So, we didn't want to aggravate or ruffle any feathers. We're not meaning to insult any doctors. I mean, they're very smart people with a lot of, good intentions. And unfortunately, the way our modern day works, sometimes, it just happens where, we have conflicting opinions. And, in my opinion, feeling good is the most important metric. If you feel good today, you'll probably feel good tomorrow. And if you're not feeling good, the chances of that going the wrong way, it just makes sense. So we'll get back to it, but we just wanted to make sure that everybody understands this is not medical advice, and we're not saying don't listen to the doctors. Back to Noel.
Very careful with the words he used.
And you know what? Not to their credit, they kind of have to, and that's what's scary.
Yes.
It's not if they're open-minded or not, but when you look at what they're pushing, what the College of Physicians does, what the standard of care is, and it's a drug first, they have to do that or else they can lose their license, which is, that's a whole other topic. But what I want, I'm so
I just wanted to finish on the cholesterol thing because so I was still a bit nervous because at the time I was going through a bit of a slump of lack of energy again and that kind of thing. So I thought, maybe I should be listening and maybe I should take this drug because I was supposedly, way into the realm where they said I should be taking the drugs. Mm-hmm. And I'm very anti-drug. So I just said, well, let's just give it some time. Let's just give it another month or so. And if I'm like really weak and things get scary, then I'll reconsider. And, in that time, as I've found throughout, when I go through a dip, I come out of it fairly quick. It's not like you sit there in the dip for a whole bunch of time.
And have you noticed those, like over the year, those have gotten kind of shorter, right?
Yes, yes, definitely. Oh, yeah, I can have a dip that's just 24 hours or 48 hours. And quite often it's because, I've gone at what I call off the wagon a bit and had things I'm not really supposed to have or whatever. But I have seen that my body is much more resilient to that now. Like if I have carbohydrates in one form or another, it doesn't affect me that badly. Maybe 24 hours and I'll notice something's off a bit, but it's nothing that's really bad. It's, and that's a bonus, like I like the fact that, okay, so I can go off and do other things once in a while and I'm not going to be, really feeling bad. So that's good.
And you see now how, when we started, the idea is to live your life. And I mean, I obviously trying to show you, teach you what is good or what is bad, you still have to feel it. And that's great because a lot of people don't realize that resilience. And I mean, everybody gets put in positions and life happens. It's the ability to understand that, okay, I did it or I wanted it or whatever, and the ability to just get back to what you do normally, right? And that's huge.
I think you get so used to not, picking carbohydrate type things that I find I just have a normal system that mentally that I just don't want to have too much. So
There you go.
I'll have something, but I just don't go pig out on like all day
Mhm.
eating junk, right, or whatever. I'll have a little bit here and there. I mean, I've gone a whole weekend where I was off the wagon, so to speak, and especially if you go away, I found it a little bit more challenging, and you're eating restaurant food and that kind of thing, which I used to do all the time. So that's actually a bonus. Is now I'm doing this, I don't eat out as much. And of course, if that means I'm eating much more healthy because I'm picking, grass-fed beef and eggs that are organic and things that are much healthier. So, but completely going off and having drinks and having dessert a little bit here and there, I find I can't even eat a whole dessert. It like makes me sick. I feel like, way too much sugar.
Mhm.
So a little bite here or there is kind of
And
all I can handle.
that's just proof that we change. We start when you get nourished. Your everything changes. And I mean, I don't know if you've noticed how, like, what happened with your cravings. Did you have any? You didn't really have any sugar cravings at the beginning,
No,
right? Like,
no.
for everybody listening, like, Noel jumped into this fast and hard. Like, it was actually against my my advice, but she wanted to do it, and she went all in. And it's kind of, it was, I think if you had been sugar addicted, that would have been a bigger deal. Like, that would have been a bigger problem. But
Yeah.
you had no problem cutting out the carbohydrates. With a lot of people, that is the hardest thing to do. So that was good that you got a sense of that. Now, as the years progressed, how confident are you about this way of eating? Like, how are you gonna go about in the future?
Well, for sure till I meet my goals. Um, but it's kind of become a way of life. It's a very easy way. I'm not a big chef type cook person. For me, it's so much easier to just throw in some meat and eggs and it's done, right? And you're not like fussing and doing all these different fancy things that people can get into with food. And that's fine with me. I actually wondered if I would get sick of it after a while, but I haven't, surprisingly. Once in a while, I did find something very interesting out though, because when I first began, I tested everything in terms of I love salmon, so I'd have salmon, chicken,
Mhm.
turkey. Uh, I didn't really eat pork very much, um, but I would test other things to see how that would be. And I always came back to beef because I found that beef lasted the day. Like after breakfast in the morning, I could last all day until it was dinner time. So I
Yeah.
only eat twice a day. And sometimes I've been satiated enough that I've eaten, uh, I've just eaten once. I couldn't eat anymore. I just
Oh,
didn't want any food. Yeah. But when I have chicken or salmon or some of these other foods, I definitely get hungry sooner.
that's
And so,
interesting.
I figure it's because I'm not getting the same nutritional, in,
Yeah.
input that I need for the day, kind of thing.
And I
So
think I think a lot of carnivores, when they overcomplicate it. And I mean, I do believe, like, obviously we work towards you intuitively eating, hunger signals, satiety signals all change. And I that is true. I mean, people say salmon is good for you, but if you're not feeling good eating salmon, like, and that happens quite often. We take these things like, oh, I need to eat this. And it's like, well, you need to get nourished. And how your body gets
when
nourished.
you mentioned salmon, so I was used to eating, the typical size of salmon that you would see in a restaurant, right? But of course, that wouldn't even begin to satiate me. So I would buy one of those fillets of, open fillets,
Yeah.
and I literally would eat three-quarters of it, the whole, almost the whole salmon, right? And and then I would feel satiated,
Well, yeah,
and that would be my meal, right?
that's a
And I
huge thing. that's a huge thing for me, because like a lot of times I look at the salmon, it's so expensive for what I need to eat, and it's like I can only have it once in a while. I'll do some sashimi, but that's and I mean, hey, seafood, I'm all for it, and that's the thing about your carnivore diet. And what sort of what was the what did you fall back, like how did you feel about just eating more or less often? How did you adjust with that? Skipping breakfast. Oh, you actually eat breakfast, but
I always eat breakfast. I can.
yeah.
It's like my start to the day, right? I feel weak if I don't
Yeah.
eat breakfast.
So you're a skip dinner and late eating, right?
Skip lunch.
Okay.
I eat generally. I eat dinner around, I would say 5 or 6,
Yeah.
something like that. But I
Yeah.
always make a point of having it before 7 if I can. So
That's excellent.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
and you went on holidays a few times. How did you find that?
um, when I went away for 10 days, I went to Peru for 10 days, and I went to this retreat that was vegetarian only. Um, it was a bit rough because I mean, I bought beef jerky. If I hadn't had the beef jerky, I would have been really in trouble. So I was eating beef jerky back in my room and eating, little bits of vegetables. um, but I really found, I mean, I ate everything they gave me. I even tried their desserts a little bit, which I could only take a mouthful or so because, again, my sugar, I just couldn't handle the sugar. It was super sweet. But I didn't feel that great. And actually, I got very sick. Now, I can't blame that on the food alone. I caught COVID and I didn't know I had it. So, but I didn't feel nourished. I'll say that for sure. And I
Do you
wasn't.
do you remember what you told me that you asked them when you were there? Because this is very important.
Nope, not right now. What did I
I
ask?
remember you said this, and I'm paraphrasing here, but where's the protein?
Oh, yeah. I could not believe how little protein there was, in the vegetables. I mean, they used lentils and uh, I don't know, whatever it was what's that other
Quinoa?
quinoa? Yeah, they used quinoa
Please.
and beans, of course, and which never agree with me well anyway. But I just was really quite shocked at how little there was of that, even of that, right? Because and one of the biggest things I've learned is how important protein is, like people need way more protein than they think they do, way more. And actually, I think as you get older, you need more because your body's starting to slow down a little or whatever. Although I definitely don't feel like I've been slowing down too much. But I did when I was adjusting, right? I was like a slug. And like I said, I couldn't move. So, but protein I just can't believe the difference. Like I really crave it. If I don't have it, I just really crave that. So.
No kidding. Well, that's and that's something that I'm very much a proponent of, is people don't realize this, and that's great at your age to understand that, because it's almost the older you get, the more important this is. And quite often, how's your appetite, by the way?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, I feel like at times I can eat. I remember my sons. I have 3 sons, and they were quite shocked at how much I was eating. I was matching them on the steak eating, right? And they were like, mouths were like, what? But when I have a lot of meat, I'll find the next meal is I can't. I just don't want as much. Yes, much less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're just riding completely on intuition, right? Like you eat till you're full, and then if you need to eat later, you eat till you're full or need enough, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's something in our lives that
I'm way better at the fat
yeah.
because I didn't have a consistent system with that, and I didn't understand how much it was affecting my energy levels, which were going up and down like a friggin' yo-yo at times. It's going like, why do I feel so tired and weak and everything else? I mean,
And
go ahead.
sorry, and just so that everybody knows, like you don't do dairy, like you can't do dairy, especially conventional dairy, and that was a little bit of a struggle.
I do eggs all the time. I
Yeah.
eat lots of eggs, but I
But like, but butter wasn't a thing for you. Like you had to up the tallow, and a few conversations about, do I eat the tallow? Just eat it. How do
and
you
I have
feel?
to tell you, this is the trick, because when you eat tallow and it's soft, it's disgusting. That's all I can say. For me, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But when it's hard and cold, and it's like kind of crunchy in a way, right? In a sense. But I can get it down easily. It's no problem. But the same goes for, I've noticed that I've had at times bacon fat when it's still liquid,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually can cause diarrhea.
Yeah.
It's like too much or going through you or something. But when you put it in the fridge and it's hard, and then you take scoops of it, it's delicious. I really like it.
Yeah,
You know?
quite often people don't realize that liquid fat, just, think about it. Like people say that saturated fat causes like a clogged drain, but when it's hot, it gets liquefied, and that just slides right through us. So sometimes people eating a lot of liquid fat, it can do that with downstairs. How is your gut adjustment? How was your sorry, we're going to talk some movements over the
Okay.
year. How has that changed with no fiber? Do you notice the difference when you do include, like, obviously you're away eating vegetables? Did you notice a difference?
Never a problem. Never a problem. And way less, of course. You got way less of it, right?
Yeah.
It's,
So how do you feel?
the only time it's a problem is when I go off and try other things. And then I learn very quickly that, oh, boy, this doesn't agree with me. And this is one of the things that's an added bonus, is you learn what your specific body likes and doesn't like, right? Or wants, doesn't want, whatever way you want to put it. And I found that, yeah, if I know sometimes I'll eat something even though I know I'm going to get a little bit of a gut ache.
Yeah.
I know that's going to happen, but it's
Yeah.
not like it lasts more than 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm fine again. So, sometimes I'll just do that and bite the bullet on whatever comes, right? So,
And now, how much weight have you lost over the year?
20 pounds.
20 pounds.
And I remember complaining to you quite often, when is this weight going to start coming off? 6 months goes by. Oh my God, I haven't. If anything, I've gone up. Sometimes I went up, right? And I was like, when is this going to start to move? And you said, well, when your body feels safe and ready to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I was going, well, God, I've been doing it for 6 months. I'm ready already. But I think also, maybe because of my age, I don't know, but it did it in a slow, it's been doing it slowly over time.
Yeah. And I mean, do you
allow
feel
skin to adjust or whatever? I don't know.
do you feel that weight now is off? Do you think you're going to ever gain it back?
Not gaining it back. No chance.
Right?
No, it feels much more solid. Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, it won't stop. Like, I mean, I'm now.
It's because of, you change, when you change your behavior, then life around you changes, right? I mean, once you've shifted and made the change and you've gotten used to that, then it'd be like totally going backwards to do anything else. Not interested in backwards. I'm only interested in going forwards. So.
And you've proven that you can go away, you can get into these situations. You just come back and you get back on the bike. You just get up and get back to what makes you feel good.
And I have to say, the adjustment period again every time for me is I feel sluggish because while the body's readjusting, because you know, you're getting used to fat driving you instead of sugar, so to speak, in simplistic forms. And wow, it's not much fun because I have gotten to be less and less sluggish, but I'll just drop off asleep. I mean, I'll be in the middle of the day and oh my God, I'm falling asleep. And it's usually within an hour after eating.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's because my body hasn't adjusted back again.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and this does take time. I mean, that's a lot of people. They get freaked out, or they don't understand this stuff. They don't understand how, you know, insulin. We had a long, like, kind of pretty. I guess it was like a thorough explanation of what insulin does and how it works in your body, and how it's not a one size fits all. So it's hard to explain this to people that are just trying something for 2 weeks. It's really, there's so many, it's multifaceted of healing. And these are things that, like, you know, I'm glad that you're sharing, because some people really struggle and it freaks them out because they don't understand it.
Well, you're making a life shift. I mean, you may decide you want to go back to other things later, but your body will have rejuvenated and healed so much that I don't think you'll be eating a lot of different foods again for that long before you want to come back, because the feeling of youthfulness, quite honestly, you know, having lots of energy and being able to do things. I mean, my only exercise, I shouldn't be bragging about that because it really should improve, but I really need to start doing some weights and things like that. And I will, and it's
But
coming.
you know what? That's great that you're saying that, because, you know, when you feel better, you kind of you get inspired to move. Right?
Correct.
If I
well,
told
I don't
you,
have choice with a dog, I have to go out and do stuff anyway, right? But
if I told you, listen, Noel, you have to work out, you have to exercise your little butt off to lose weight, and, you know, here, eat this. How would that have worked for you?
I've been there, done that. I've seen how that works. Mm-hmm. So, it's actually, you're right. There's a natural inspiration that comes from when you're feeling good, and then you want to do more, right? I had a friend stretch me to do a 7K, and when he first told me about it, I went, "What? I don't think I can do that." I went, "Okay, we'll give this a try," and I was surprised. I was fine, you know. I wasn't even stiff the next day, so. It was amazing.
That's awesome. Oh man, I had something to say. So that feeling good feeling.
Yes.
If I told you that feeling when we first started, how would you describe it? Because it's really hard to explain to people that feeling.
It's a very freeing feeling, like everything's just working like it's supposed to. You know, I feel super healthy and strong. You know, I feel strong, but it's not from the outside in; it's from the inside out, which is a big change, right? A big difference. Mm-hmm. And so I feel very, I feel much stronger all around, and then I can see it. You know, I can see where I had like wrinkles all over the place. And now it's firming up, and I really haven't done anything other than eat like this. I mean, I haven't gone and pushed weights or done anything. So, I've just firmed up.
Would it be fair to say the non-scale victories outweigh the scale? victories.
Oh, by far, by far. And there's a reason for it. There's a reason it's taking longer. It's because your body's needing all the fuel it can get to rejuvenate you, to bring you back to the highest optimal self that you can be, right? So I understand why that would take a while on me. So, but
what did you think when you heard my program was like 6 months to a year? What did you think about that?
I wasn't. The year part was like, what? The 6 months part, I kind of understood a little bit, because the reason I had gotten used to not having sugar and carbs is because I'd done what's called an anti-candida diet, food plan, where you just eliminate all that also. And that's when I actually found out that milk didn't agree with me. I'd been drinking milk for years, and cheese and everything else. And when I went off after a month or so of coming back just to that product only, any kind of dairy, I had strong reactions. My body definitely didn't like it, right? So often, you can have issues going on that you don't know about based on a food, and you just have no idea till you eliminate it and then bring it back in. So it's a great way to find, it's like a reset, right? You get a full reset with this carnivore, well, like I did with the anti-candida, but I didn't know that vegetables and things could affect me also. So I have introduced back, every now and then I'll have some vegetables, and it's fascinating to me that sometimes I will have a stomach ache because I ate that vegetable. And then other times I don't. So it's then a matter of my systems telling me which vegetables are okay for me and which ones aren't, So it's helpful that way.
And I mean, inherently, like I'm a proponent of that. Like, I don't think vegetables necessarily are bad or good. I think if we have, as close to God and Mother Nature intended, seasonal, grown with love, without all the, the crap that's in the supermarket vegetables, I think it opens up a different, you can open up your diet. But I think healing first and understanding that is the power, because, just saying this is or isn't is not necessarily true. You actually have to feel it. And that's one thing that I've noticed with you is you felt a lot of things, a lot of changes. So
no, I've become, well, it's been fine tuning over years, right? And now with the carnivore, I've really streamlined down to, my body tells me instantly if something doesn't agree with me, or certainly within a few hours, I could feel, nah, that doesn't agree with me. So, so it's good to do that. I would say, I do want to say something else though, and that is that I would say the one thing that has been challenging for me is balancing getting cramps. So for my physiology, I have to be very careful on the electrolytes that I'm taking, or, I take in vitamin form kind of thing, or drinking, some of the, I can't remember, LMT or something, or
Element, the electrolyte drinks, for sure.
Yeah, electrolyte drinks, because they're very, they could definitely help. I think it's a real balancing act in a sense, because I can have my regular routine with the vitamins, but every now and then I need, and I don't take the, the electrolyte drinks. And that's not with sugar, of course. I can't handle any form of any kind of sugar. But anyway, and when it's almost like the body, just with the vitamins, isn't quite getting enough. So then I need a boost of one of those little packets, and then I'm good to go for probably another month or so.
And I mean, we've talked about that. Electrolytes, listening to somebody saying they need is different. You have to almost get used to it and feel it, and you have your own way of dealing with it, and you find your routine, what your requirements are. And the worst part is it changes. Like, it can change,
Oh, it's changing all the time. And I do know that one of the things is not drinking enough water.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so Noel, what advice do you have to people that are looking to get healthy, looking to find this, or maybe curious about this way of eating in the diet?
I would definitely highly recommend going carnivore for at least 6 months. Forget this 1 month, 2 month stuff. That's just like, you're just scratching the surface on the good that it can do for your physiology. At least 6 months, I would say, and see how that starts to affect you physiologically. But because I've seen things happening, like with my glaucoma and my gums, which they say, oh, once this happens, it's never going to change. It's obviously bollocks. Yeah. So I believe it could heal anything that you have wrong with you, period. I honestly do. And I'm just talking off my head with that, but just, I have two things that they said, no way anything can heal it. You just have to accept it for the rest of your life. Well, I'm not a person who accepts things that are not nice or good for me for the rest of my life. So I just say, okay, next, move on, gotta get on with it.
And before we say goodbye, how did you feel about, not necessarily me, but hiring a coach to help you?
Oh my God, I would absolutely recommend having a coach. And you've been a huge help, obviously, Tony. I had so many questions. I had so many questions. I was barraging you with questions all the time. And of course, as a result, I learned a lot, right? That's the kind of point. But and through going through you helping, I'm kind of set for life, right? Because you've taught me how to figure things out for myself by the knowledge you've given. So now I'm set for life I know what to do, how things affect, all the different things. I've tried it all out. And you've had the answers to help me, because I definitely remember sometimes calling you like, oh my God. This is happening, and I cannot believe I'm feeling like this right now.
Well, Noel, I got to tell you, you've done all the work. It was all you, and it was my absolute pleasure working with you because, you taught me a lot too, because everybody's different. And I'm so proud of you for sticking this out, and the fortitude that you've shown, like, especially over the last year. And I mean, it's my absolute pleasure to have worked with you for a year and see you, like, all this happen, and it makes me really, really happy. And yeah, words really can't describe it. But
thank you. I really appreciate all your help.
And I
actually finally lost weight.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't stop, Noel, and we're not stopping now. So we'll talk about that later. And now that we can open up to some different ideas for sure. But thank you so much for sharing your story, your journey, and people can really take value in this, knowing that they're not alone when they don't get things right away. So thank you, and we will talk very soon.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.